Why are there so many 3-hour movies this year?
Endgame ruined everything.
Hello! Ooh, body shots. This is terrible.
It's okay. It gives the feet fetish something to look forward to.
That's not a Tarantino film.
And we actually have people with foot fetishes come here every now and again.
I know. It's fine. I would hope they would come every now and again.
You didn't have to record an intro for this.
Yeah. No. Okay. So for the intro for this,
it's gonna be like a weird cut.
Yeah, right.
Between all that before this. Anyway, so
okay.
So we're gonna talk It Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
I guess we should talk about what we thought about the first one first.
I really liked the first one, honestly.
I did too.
I thought it was surprisingly good. I thought it was understated enough to be pretty cool. It kind of went the extra mile in certain ways that I didn't expect. It was gorier than I expected, and I liked it. It felt weirdly classic. You know?
Yeah, kind of had more like a Steven Spielberg-esque kind of feel to it in areas, at least as far as the kids go. A little bit of the Goonies, a little bit of Sandlot.
Yeah, I liked the pacing. I liked all of it. I thought it was a surprisingly good horror movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even though still some of the Stephen King-isms that can get a little annoying.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King, but as far as a Stephen King movie, that I feel like that was one of the best.
It was. No,
especially compared to Pet Sematary that we saw earlier this year.
I forgot that came out this year, man.
Yeah, no, this is better than Pet Sematary.
Oh yeah,
by a long shot. No question.
No, I pretty much agree with you. I really liked the first It movie. I thought it was way better than any right to be, considering that I think nobody had any expectations really going into it.
Yeah.
Bill Skarsgård is arguably a better Pennywise than Tim Curry, but then you rewatch the original and realize it's only kind of good when Tim Curry's in there.
Yeah, it's I actually watched a video on this about how he prepared for the role, and he very specifically, Skarsgård very specifically did not want to do, a Tim Curry hit.
Yeah.
Because that's Tim Curry's character. He brought himself to it and, made it his own, and so Bill Skarsgård wanted to do something that was his own. So aside from wanting it to be kind of like a clown, apparently he wanted the motions of the clown to be weirdly childlike.
Yeah.
So little things that kids do, like swinging their arms when they run and stuff.
Yeah.
He did all these things to make it seem more cartoonish, and also he studied animals and their reactions to stuff. So he really went the extra mile to make this his thing. And I really appreciate that. I like Bill Skarsgård as an actor. I actually really enjoyed Hemlock Grove. I know a lot of people didn't, but I enjoyed.
That was the Eli
him
Roth film series, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he produced it, and it definitely went off the rails in the third season. But I really enjoyed the first two seasons, especially the first one. And Bill Skarsgård was really great in it. But one of the other things that they mentioned about his performance was that in the books and stuff, they make it very clear that Pennywise, being a shape-shifting, extra-dimensional creature, could take any form he wanted, and the clown was his favorite form.
Yeah.
So Skarsgård really wanted to embody the fact that Pennywise just really enjoyed being a clown. He liked being that body. He was having fun fucking with people. He just does that. So I appreciated that, and you can really see that. He really is the star of this movie in a lot of ways.
I think my favorite things I read about him recently was, he sheds blood.
Oh, I know.
But
dogs.
We're talking about Max the dog, by the way.
There's a corgi here.
Oh yeah, he's been on camera before. Hi, Max.
Hi, Max. You can't not be happy around a corgi. Look at this bastard. You can't, but...
Well, yeah, he's been on camera before. Was there's a little on-set shot with between him and Bill Hader, and there's just a part where they're talking, and all of a sudden Bill Hader goes And then just runs the other direction. And the story behind it is apparently he was talking about like the eye moving thing.
Yeah.
And he was talking like, what kind of effects did I do to do that? And he goes, oh, you mean this? And he just did it. And apparently it just freaked the fuck out of Bill Hader.
Yeah.
And he just immediately ran away.
Skarsgård is capable of, a lot of those things are not CGI at all. Like, Skarsgård can really just move his eye around independently of the other, and that little smile he does is 100% him. So, creepy.
As far as the sequels go,
perfect role.
Yeah. As far as the movie itself goes, I was entertained by it. I'm not gonna say it's like great by any metric.
It was so long.
See, to me personally, I didn't really feel like it. I mean, it was very long. I'm not gonna argue that.
I love it. As someone who loves 3-hour movies, out of the 3 movies I've seen this year that were pushing the 3-hour mark, like over 2.5 hours, like this is the 4th one, and it is definitely the one out of all of them that I will not be watching again.
Yeah.
It didn't do as much with 3 hours as it could have. Even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I like, for all of its slow pacing, it felt more deliberate. It felt better with it.
Yeah.
And aside from that, there's Endgame, of course, which is and
to be fair, after like 10 years, kind of earned a bit of a more
indulgent. It did, but also for its length, Endgame is surprisingly briskly paced.
It is.
It has a lot going on at all times, and I felt similarly about Midsommar. I understand that some people really, they self-indulgent. They don't like the artsiness of it. Fuck those people. They don't like good movies. I fucking loved it, and when I went and saw the director's cut a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was pushing 3 hours, and it was honestly better paced than the original cut.
Yeah.
Because there was other stuff inserted through the movie that kept the individual plot lines kind of bolstered.
Yeah.
And particularly, there's like halfway through the movie, there's an argument that the main character has with her boyfriend, which not only shows how much more of a prick he actually is, but shows that she very early on is uncomfortable and knows that something is wrong.
Yeah.
Before anybody else. And, there's great things that can be done with a 3-hour runtime, and I feel like this movie kind of just kerfuffled about and just tried to insert other weird stuff in there that was like, okay,
yeah, fair enough.
It wasn't concise.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything you're saying as far as that goes. I think for me personally,
You're also buzzed.
I was also buzzed.
I was not.
I had a very big, me and Laura saw it together. We went around before him. He's got the biggest beer they had. So I walked in like, all right, let's go see some clowns. And so we go in there and I still remember for the most part everything that happened. To be fair, it wasn't on the blast or anything like that. But it was more
but you don't remember everything that happened?
I mean, it was 3 hours long.
Yes.
But I guess my point is I was still entertained. I liked the visuals. I some of the thought some of the creatures were kind of cool looking. Yeah. I thought there were some creative horror elements, and not that any of it was scary. It wasn't scary.
That's the thing. It wasn't. First off, jump scares.
Yeah.
It's staple.
I had them too.
Yeah, but it's still it's a staple of the horror genre. I get it, but I just felt like they were cheaper here.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this director is capable of far better. I don't know why they resorted to so many of them. And, one of those things where the character turns and the camera moves and the scary monster right there. And it's whatever. And there's something about the monsters in this one where, in the first It, maybe I don't remember a lot of things about it, but when there were monsters in it, it was Pennywise the Clown or some weird person.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the scary thing about it. Mm-hmm. The fact that it could just be anyone walking around and suddenly they're talking to you about something that they shouldn't know about, and you realize that you're with this supernatural carnivorous creature just hanging out. and that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
But in this movie, like, so many of the designs were cartoonish.
But like, here's kind of
weird,
and that's kind of why it worked for me, honestly.
Really?
Like, cause I think someone put it best online, where it's like, you know, if you really look at it less as a horror movie, more like as a dramedy about like adults overcoming childhood trauma, it's like, you know, it kind of works better that way.
No,
honestly,
that's part of it. That's been part of the story, because the whole point of it is that it preys on your innermost fears.
True, but I guess the point is, like, if you think of it less as a horror movie, you're less likely to be annoyed or disappointed by the horror elements in it, rather than just look at it like, all right, it's kind of it's a me, it's a personal taste.
It's
I know. Don't get mad at me.
It's the killer clown. It is a classic horror movie. It's by Stephen fucking King. It's horror.
But the adult part has always been the weakest part, even in the book.
No, have you read the book?
I'm going. Most people have told me.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
The book is the book goes back and forth.
Well, yeah, I know that.
They're parallel storylines, and they kind of complement each other. And the adult part is kind of crazy because the stakes are higher.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see what happens to them as kids reflected later. Like, I would actually love to see these two movies edited together into a long 5-hour cut.
I think they're planning on doing that, actually.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because that would actually parallel what's going on with the book, and I think it would help with some of the pacing issues.
Mm-hmm. Probably would. I guess more like my point is, like, that's kind of how I kind of set into it, like towards the halfway point. It's like, all right, and that's kind of why I enjoyed it more. Granted, as a horror movie, by the fact I have to redefine the genre to make it work still means it failed as an original intention.
Exactly.
Which I acknowledge that.
But I will say this. It was funnier than I expected.
Yes, and like that's kind of what like flirted around me. Like, so that's what I was
when the leper vomits black into Eddie's face.
Oh yeah, and the music starts playing.
Yeah, and he's just laughing and then with his mouth open and yelling at him. He's like, ah! And then it goes into slow motion and it vomits just black bile onto the germaphobe. And what does it start playing?
It's like Ave Maria or something.
Yeah, something like that. Hands down, the funniest part of the fucking movie. I was dying.
That's kind of what kind of kept me in, even though like I definitely acknowledge the flaws. I definitely acknowledge it did not work as a horror movie. I acknowledge that
it didn't even work as well as the first one, though.
And I agree on that too.
Yeah.
But that being said, like the parts that made me laugh and the parts that like I thought were interesting to watch still kept me engaged.
Yeah.
Like the part that got me was when they had like the spider head like from the thing.
Yeah.
That was crawling around and Bill. And
you gotta be fucking kidding me.
The part that got me was like when they're trying to get like the germaphobe like off the wall or whatever. It's like, and all of a sudden like the part drools on the floor and Bill Hader's like is like, oh, there it is. So it's like, all right, that got me.
Reference. Like those are very light spoilers.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah.
It's not a. Well, yeah. Let's try to be decent. About, I mean, I honestly don't care. I didn't like it that much, but I mean, I guess we should make some kind of effort. It's intentionally funny. It is definitely intentionally funny at multiple points throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like that. I have mixed feelings about that. Because at the same time as that is what made me enjoy it as much as I did,
mm-hmm.
I also felt like it did a disservice to what I wanted it to be.
And that's perfectly valid too.
You know what I mean?
No, I get you.
Like,
I hear you.
But even though that was going against what I wanted it to be, since it wasn't what I wanted it to be, I did enjoy this other thing that it was because of the funny parts. The funny parts were good. And I feel like some parts were funny unintentionally. And
I mean, like
just as a quality level thing.
And as the adult actors are still good, and they still work well off each other. Like the kid that got to play the germaphobe was like pitch perfect casting.
Oh yeah. Actually, I felt like his performance was one of the weakest ones.
As far as like translating like a kid actor performance into an adult, I feel like the minute you popped up on the screen, I was like, okay, yeah, I know exactly who that is, kind of a way.
Yeah, it translated, but at the same time, it was Max.
No, he does that. It's okay.
I was gonna bump against the. Anyway, but I felt like out of all of the performances in that was the most unrealistic. It felt like he was playing a character instead of being a character.
I didn't get that sense personally, but I can see where
I feel like no one actually moves and talks and acts like that. Like an actual germaphobe doesn't do that. It's just him being stiff and like that's his performance. And that's also, you know, he may have been directed to act like that. There's it's not entirely his fault, but Bill Hader, of course, is great.
Oh yeah.
James McAvoy is great, although it's still weird to see him with an American accent.
I mean, it's still no Victor Frankenstein, but you know, you've seen that, right?
No.
Oh my God.
No.
That's a movie you gotta sit down and watch. I gotta force to sit down and watch one of these days. Dude, if you liked what's his name from Jupiter Ascending, you would love James McAvoy and Victor Frankenstein.
Okay. All right. I'll check it out. But in terms of, there are also things from, I feel like they changed certain things as they moved on to the final cut.
Now you know that more than I would.
No, not in that sense. I mean from the trailer.
Okay.
Because there's that one scene in the hallway where in the trailer they show him with the paint on his face and dragging his hands down his face and stuff. They used a different cut in the movie than they did in the trailer.
I mean, that's not uncommon in movies.
No, I know, but it was a less effective cut, if you ask me. It was, like, instead of, it just didn't feel as visceral, and they added more effects on top of it, and it didn't look as good, I felt.
Yeah.
And there are a couple things on the trailer that weren't there, like, I mean, no, that's kind of a spoiler, but the part where he jumps out of the window onto the wall.
I'm trying to remember that part from the trailer.
It's like a thing where someone's looking up at a wall, and there's a window there, and Pennywise jumps out and balances on the edge.
Oh, yeah.
It's not in the movie.
Yeah, it's not. Now I think about it. Yeah, kind of forgot about that.
There were like moments like that where you're bending gravity, and you know, there were a couple things that I was looking forward to that weren't in the movie, just in terms of interesting concepts and moments.
Yeah.
And I don't know why those weren't there. They were probably cut for time,
I guess.
but
that'd make more
they could have
sense.
cut a lot more for time.
I mean, I guess you can argue that the original is kind of overindulgent in that way too, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but the original,
the original
miniseries.
Yeah,
I've never seen it. But this movie was longer than the entire original miniseries.
Was it really?
The original miniseries was 3 hours.
Okay.
This movie was 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
Part 2, like, I think they could have easily made this a 2-hour movie and had it be a lot more briskly paced. They could have. There's a lot of haunted house indulgence, you know, where they're just running around being like, oh, scary thing, like.
Which, like, again, it comes back to just like, okay, I know this doesn't work thematically, but I'm still entertained by it. Especially, let's go slightly into spoilers. Since I grew up with Pomeranians.
Yes. Are you giving me the ball? No take, only throw. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about, by the way. See,
That's great.
A story in 3 pictures.
But okay, so let's talk about. Fuck it, let's go spoilers.
Yeah.
I think our impressions of the movie are pretty clear at this point.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, so right off the bat, let's tackle the big issue, the gay issue.
Oh yeah, Bill Hader's gay in this version.
No, that's
the hate crime in the beginning.
Yeah, the hate crime at the beginning, because that was triggering for some people.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
This is another thing that was in the book that I was kind of disappointed wasn't as clear in the movie, because there is a there's a thing about it where I don't know what it is about Derry. Maybe it's just because it's where his meteor landed or whatever. But he has a certain level of psychic influence over the town.
Yeah.
He finds the most hateful people in Derry, the people most likely to, you know, go over the edge and do some evil shit, and he encourages and influences them. This comes out most clearly in that one bully kid.
Yeah.
Who ends up becoming a serial killer.
Yeah.
That's a major theme. The whole idea that, you know, to be scared of people coming after you and bullying you it's not just that it preys on that on that vulnerability within you. It also makes those things much more real and threatening in the real world. Hence, with like the racist bullying in the first movie, and why that one bully ends up the whole thing with the bully ending up becoming a serial killer. When he could have just been a normal bully. That's supposedly Pennywise's influence. And you see that when he comes through the insane asylum and with the balloon and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's supposed to influence other people in the town as well. And I feel like fine, okay. I feel like the hate crime at the beginning could have been at least contextualized better. To be shown that this is its influence on these people, making them this fucking horrible.
At least it would have justified their existence a bit more.
Yeah, but just the way that it happened on screen, and it's very vaguely implied that this happens so that this guy could get thrown in the river and eaten by it.
Yeah.
But it's not like that stuff wasn't in the book. It's not like this isn't a horror movie. That's part of why I take umbrance with the whole idea that this is not a horror movie.
Yeah, and I completely understand that too.
Things like that belong in a horror movie. There's an argument to be made for that it's to show those ugly, scary things. But to kind of do that just as a quick plot point and drop it without going deeper into it or making it a larger theme throughout the movie felt sloppy.
Yeah, I think I was on Kotaku point out that Derry itself should have been made more of a character.
Yes.
And I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Partly. Yeah. I think that's that is a big oversight in the movie itself. I mean, granted, the fact that it being what it is, as being one of the most bizarre and over-the-top Stephen King books to adapt, the fact that it turned out as good as it did, I think is still really impressive.
No, it's an achievement in and of itself that this even exists. And I have to commend it on that level. I just have to still be real about the adaptation and the themes within, and just handling sensitive content like that within a movie.
No, I get it.
It definitely upset a few people, including people I know, and they weren't expecting that going into the movie. But they shouldn't market this as like a fun horror movie when you do have some very unsettling content. And I feel like they should have focused more on the unsettling content. This shouldn't have been as fun as it was.
Yeah.
Like the scene with Bev and her dad.
Yeah.
Which it comes this close to being some kind of really uncomfortable implied molestation thing.
Yeah.
And they come right up to that line and stop. But the way that he acts towards her is freaky enough that anyone who's been treated like that by a family member would absolutely be triggered by that shit.
Hold on. I ordered food.
I was unaware of this. I apologize.
Yep.
Max, food's not for you. You ordered food just for yourself?
I had to pay for it. They were expensive.
I could have sent money to you. You're just gonna. So you're just gonna eat through this thing?
No, I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah. Oh, from my favorite burger place too.
Yes.
Yes. Insult to injury. Thanks. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Thanks for thinking of me.
You're welcome.
I drove to you this time. The nerve.
Do you want it fried?
What'd you get?
Charburger.
But yeah, anyway, also their fried chicken sandwiches are great too. We're talking about the Habit Burger. But
it's sponsored by.
Hey, eat this, pay us,
please.
But shit, if I know that it would I shouldn't be eating burgers anyways. But as it stands, if they were willing to pay us money to eat one of their burgers with every review that we did,
oh goddamn yeah,
I would fucking do it. Yeah, no, big fan, do it.
God, anyone, I will eat fucking anything on camera if you pay me to do it. Wait,
do not say that on the internet.
Within reason.
You saw that one dude eat the candied tarantula?
Did not actually.
Okay, well then now you know. Don't do these things. Don't make these claims.
Alright, redacted.
Good, redacted. But yeah, when it comes to the overall theme of the movie, it could have been darker. And it's really weird because this is the dude who directed and made Mama, which was darker. Mm-hmm. It was a darker, more unsettling horror movie without being super gory. Like, as far as PG-13 horror movies go, it's one of the best portrayals of a ghost on film I've seen. And I guess I was expecting more in that sense. And again, this has to do with expectations and everything, but at the same time, it's not like I'm going to be rewatching this.
Yeah.
So this impression is the impression that I'm going to have. It dabbled in darker stuff just enough to make me feel like it had potential to be something crazy and scary and fucked up and kind of brave. But instead it was just something that used these things as...
Max, don't do it!
It used these things as moments that it just glazed over, glossed over, and then had like scary fun time. Like the old woman.
Oh yeah.
The old woman, like
she reminded me of the old woman from The Visit.
No. I mean, when she comes back out and she's in that weird transformed state.
Yeah.
Like, on one hand, I appreciated the fact that they didn't show that in the trailer, and it was still like a whoa.
It was like, whoa, old lady titties.
But the way it is, the way she's modeled, it looks so not scary. It looks like a weird Guillermo del Toro monster. Like, it feels cartoonish. It's not frightening.
No, and I agree.
I don't like that. It could have been horrifying. It could have been, instead of just looking weird, it could have looked fucking scary. And it didn't. And I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Like, that moment should have been terrifying, but instead it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, that's a complete failure. That is a complete fucking failure. For the fact that it gets other moments that right. Like, even the moment where, what was it? Was it Bill who was, when he was younger, and Bev kind of hits on him, and then it turns out that it's it?
I think it was Bill. Yeah, it was Bill.
Yeah, the tubby one.
No, it was the other one.
I forget the names. They're all kids.
James McAvoy.
No. It wasn't James McAvoy. James McAvoy was the brave kid with the stutter.
You're right. It was.
Yeah. Bill was the one who lost a bunch of weight and got high.
It was Bill. Yeah, because he was one of the longer and all that. Yeah.
And that whole sequence, I think, was done really well.
Yeah.
I thought, because that's not in the book. It was an interesting addition to the movie that was in the spirit of it, and the way that it picks on his loneliness and picks on his weight and picks on the fact that he's like, you don't have real friends, and he tries to fight for the fact that, like, no, I do, they do like me, and it's literally just picking on all of his greatest vulnerabilities. I mean, and that's it.
I mean, anytime when, like, it's either Bill Skarsgård being allowed to talk or having the kids on screen again, the movie does work a lot better than it's with the adults.
Yeah, sure. Like, here's another thing. I felt like they could have cut out the scene with the Firefly.
Yeah, they probably could have.
That's extraneous.
But I think they just wanted something along the lines of, like, the Georgie scene from the first movie.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I get that. But at the same time, that could have been better.
Yeah.
And they show her with the doll that, you know, the gay dude won for her at the beginning, like it's connected somehow.
Yeah.
It was
kind of sloppy.
Yeah, it was unnecessary. It was them trying to put something in the movie that seemed like there was a bigger thread when ultimately it was completely superficial. Like, that's my whole point about this. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It just could have been so much better, and it's clear that either things were cut out of it that would have made it more cohesive, or they just changed things to make it more like what someone who knows nothing about making a good horror movie, which is not the director of this. This dude knows what he's doing. Something fucking happened. Mm-hmm. Something happened that disconnected these pieces, and there's a darker movie that could have been in here that didn't happen. And, you know, I would have happily exchanged that scene with the little girl, which was decent for the character of It, but kind of a weak showing overall. Like I expected that to be like a sign of things to come. Like it was going to be crazier as you went. But that was one of the more intense moments of the movie, aside from the one in the funhouse later on.
Yeah.
In the House of Mirrors. Those scenes are what the movie should be more like. Mm-hmm. Whereas you have like the Paul Bunyan statue.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. That was silly. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like that was silly. Why was that in there? Mm-hmm. That's not a cheap scene to make.
Yeah.
That's what the fuck is that?
Like I feel like this movie kind of turned into a creature feature at one point.
And I don't like that.
See, and I'm kind of okay with that, and I think it's kind of where the lines are drawn. And I get your perspective. I 100% get where you're coming from, and it's perfectly valid. And like, for a movie that had as good a movie as the first one was, this should have been better. I completely agree with you on that.
And like, and seeing this not as an independent entity, but just as part two. Yeah. I feel like it fucking jumped the shark.
And honestly, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think I personally, it's got a more semblance of like. One, I kind of read some stuff before I went into it, so I kind of had an expectation like, okay, it's gonna be less, so it's gonna be one for the ride. Okay. So I guess I just enjoyed it for what it was, and my expectations weren't that high.
Such a cute dog.
But that being said, like I agree with you that if you look in the grand scope of the first movie and what it should have been and what it could have been, then it absolutely failed. And I agree that's a valid perspective as well. So I guess it's more like what you're expecting on this versus what it and like how much you can get behind what it actually is. Will depend on how much you actually enjoy the movie.
Well, but I mean, you can say that of a lot of things. And
True.
I agree. I make that argument for some things.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But at the same time, it's...
And God knows I've been in your shoes, on your shoes on other movies that have kind of been also divisive in that way.
But I feel like that's a little less excusable for this movie simply because it's not supposed to be a sequel. It's supposed to be part two of the original story.
Yeah.
And I feel like the tonal change, the change in the philosophy towards the movie is that's what really kills it for me.
Yeah.
They should have made the old woman thing scarier. Even things like the leper scene.
Yeah.
In the basement, that with his mom, like that was such a. There are definitely moments where it's just like, look, it's gross, ew, and like. I mean,
at least the first movie
had that.
Fun. The first movie had that too, but it was also kind of balanced out with some character moments. Like my favorite part in the first movie was
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi would have been great for this.
No, I'm saying that for the movie that it actually is, it would have been better in the hands of Sam Raimi.
I agree.
The silly moments feel like Sam Raimi moments.
Yeah, they would
they feel like Drag Me to Hell moments.
Or like Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, they feel like that kind of humor, and I love that shit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't belong in this movie.
I agree with that.
Sorry, what was it? You were...
I was gonna say, but the best, one of my favorite parts of the first movie was just when
Hey,
Max,
chill. No.
Don't bark at me.
He's huffing.
Don't encourage him. Anyway, so like my favorite part of the first movie was just when the final showtime between the kids and It in the first movie when he turns into a leper, he throws up on the germaphobe kid.
Yeah.
And he just has like a mental breakdown.
Yeah. And I love that they did that again.
I'm gonna fucking kill you! Yeah.
It's just, and then the whole Ave Maria thing is just genius. I love that. Oh man, I would love to see this in the hands of Sam Raimi. That would be so much fun.
Can you imagine how much better the Pomeranian scene would have been if Sam Raimi did it? It was already pretty entertaining for my part.
But at the same time,
I live with my mom has 2 Pomeranians, so we saw that scene. Me and Laura immediately started laughing.
Yeah,
because we're like, this is so how Max sees himself, not this Max. But the other dog's also Max.
That's confusing.
Maxwell in that case.
And another thing, that whole thing is that concept. That's funny!
And
that's really funny!
And the first one was kind of funny in that way, too.
Also, I like how in the first one...
in the first one.
I like how in the first one, they had the top half of the girl, and this one they had the bottom half.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And they're like, no. I'm like, what are you scared of? It's legs. What are they going to do to you? They're going to wrap around you and just be like, squeeze you to death?
Yes.
Like what? New fetish. But don't look at Michael's internet search history later tonight.
Wait, do you guys have access to that? Fuck.
Well, look up the mannequins from Silent Hill 2.
I don't like how you touched me during
Exactly. That was intentional.
I'm very uncomfortable.
But yeah, as far as the...
Sorry for the tangent. But I was rewatching the...
We're going to go on a tangent about disembodied legs.
No, personal space.
Oh, okay.
I was rewatching...
Tell me, Michael.
I was rewatching the new DuckTales last night.
Okay.
And there's part like
that's so weird.
I know, but like no,
segue.
Just like how part like Webby, the little girl duck, is like really like not very social or like not sociable, like adapted at all. So they're on a bus and they say like don't touch anyone, don't talk to anyone, don't like lick anything. And the first thing she gets on there, she's like, "Ooh, what's that? What's that?" And then and then just like walks up to like some girl who's like, "What you reading?" Look at the book and it says "The Joys of Personal Space." So just make me think of that. So yeah. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. It. And at the same time, I feel like in the middle of that scene, it shouldn't have been funny. Mm-hmm. It broke the pacing.
I mean, I feel like the first one kind of played it for laughs too, to a certain extent. Although it balanced it better in that particular scene.
Yeah,
than the first one.
It balanced it better everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with the climactic scene in this one, they did a really good job with keeping it really tense in certain ways as the scene progresses, and then you just have this legitimately hilarious moment in the middle of it. And I don't want that. Mm-hmm. I don't want that in the middle of a climactic. When you get to the point of your movie where it's like, okay, they're gonna go after the clown, and I look and I see that there's just as much time left as there was left when they were about to start the climactic battle for Endgame.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no. I mean, they're gonna do this for 45 minutes.
I mean, like the first one, we definitely had a lot of scenes that were supposed to be scary that I thought was really funny.
Sure.
Like the headless Boy Scout in the first movie. I started laughing in my theater.
Look, I'm not saying that the first one wasn't funny. I'm just saying that this one took the elements of the first movie that worked well and kind of pushed them to the point where they didn't work well anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
And yeah, that's oh, and now that we're in spoiler territory, another scene that was in the trailer that it's just a blink, but it unnerved me so much in the trailer that I really wanted to see it in the movie. Was when the old woman shows up when they're all submerged in the water and grabs Bev and takes her under the water. Mm-hmm. That was a stupid moment.
Yeah.
Because they have her come up, grab Bev, go underwater, and then everyone else jumps into the water, and then they pick and take her out of the water. Right. There's nothing done with that. It's just a moment of, wah! But in the trailer, there's a split-second cut where it shows her being dragged underwater from the underwater perspective, and the old woman is gnawing on her head.
Yeah. So there's probably more to that guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there was more to that scene that would have made it matter. Like I don't know why you're cutting for time when you could have added a minute to a scene that would have made it actually matter. You could have literally, the way it is in the movie right now, you could have literally just cut that out.
Yeah,
you could have cut that out, and they could have just gone straight from the entrance of the cave to the portal in the ship, and it would have had the same effect basically. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I know it is a creature that feeds on fear.
Yeah.
That's a big part of its character. But it also makes it very silly a lot of the time for when it chooses to show up. Because the idea is that it's omnipresent. It's always in Derry. It's always everywhere. It's always watching you. It knows your fears. It knows like who you care about is. And the fact that the concept of the movie hinges so much around the fact that these people are planning these things, and it just kind of lets them get to the points that they do. Why couldn't it have just showed up at the portal and blocked them there?
And that goes into like plot hole territory.
Exactly, but that's part of the thing you have to embrace with it. You have to. And again, I feel like that wasn't as much of an issue in the books. In the book, like I remember reading it and thinking, this all kind of makes sense on a certain level. But in the movie, it just kind of does it when they feel like it.
Still sad we didn't get the giant turtle.
I will say this. It was the book that ruined Stephen King for me.
Yeah, I heard it kind of gets bad shit.
It's not that it gets bad shit, it's that it's fucking long. It's fucking long. And it doesn't feel like it escalates that much. It just has a certain tone and feeling for the whole book. And for me, that feeling was just like kind of unsettling. And it felt like everything was leading somewhere, and then it led somewhere, and it didn't really go anywhere. Like it just kept on chugging along at this pace. And I remember I read it every day for a month to get through it.
Damn.
And you gotta realize, reading it every day for 30 days means you're reading over 30 pages a day.
Yeah.
I spent over half an hour a day reading this book for a month. And afterwards I couldn't read another Stephen King book because his whole writing style just felt tedious to me after that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Which makes me sad because I feel like I still need to read The Stand and I just never got around to it.
I thought it was one thing that made me laugh with this movie. I kind of like emotionally prepared me for what they were actually going to do with the last act, in that they kept. I felt like movies
talking about the ending.
Like about the ending, they kept talking, even like the ending, like because James McAvoy in this movie is a writer.
The meta joke.
The meta joke is like, yeah, your endings usually suck. I'm like, yeah, this movie's gonna suck, isn't it?
Well, this is on the nose, isn't it?
And then Stephen King literally shows up to say how the ending sucks.
Yeah.
And they do like 2 or 3 more times. They're like, they're probably emotionally preparing me like, guys, we did what we could.
Well, I also feel like that they could have. There were elements of the book that obviously got left out, and we can't really complain about that much because you can't. It's a 1,000-page book, Jesus Christ. But the elements of it that kind of added an extra level of oh fuck.
Yeah.
From Pennywise's psychic control over the town to the fact that it was pregnant.
I did not know that part. But.
Yeah, later they find out it was pregnant, and it gets to the point where they find out that it has actually laid eggs all over the town.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so the whole idea of this battle becomes way more dire. And by the time you get to the end of the book, I think like something destroys the town.
Yeah, it was
I
like
think it's a flood
explosion or something.
No, it's like a flood or something. But it literally just destroys the town. And I'm assuming everyone just fucking dies. It's a much more R-rated, fucked up, like apocalyptic style, this place cannot exist approach to it. And
man, Stephen King has issues with his hometown.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Again, for the last time, just there were really dark things they could have done with this movie.
Yeah.
And they decided to go the fun route more. And I am dissatisfied.
I mean, we can't even say it's like the worst Stephen King adaptation in there.
It's not. It's
like,
not.
Not by a long
shot.
Like, if you want like a fun 3-hour time, go watch The Langoliers.
No, okay, like
Tommy
this movie could have been so much better.
Yeah,
but it's
I
not
agree.
bad.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie. You're gonna enjoy most of your time watching it. You're gonna have moments where you're like, what? Really? and you're gonna have moments where you're like, ah. Like, especially the two child deaths that are very obviously telegraphed. You know these kids are gonna die.
Yeah.
From the moment you see them on screen, they're gonna die. You know it. Although the kid who gets eaten in the funhouse, I love his character arc through the movie, where
insane James McAvoy.
Yeah, no, crazy Bill Hader and then crazy James McAvoy just being accosted by adults, and he's just like, "What's wrong with you?" This totally sensible little kid. And again, funny, but yeah, it could have been way better.
No, I
pacing
agree.
issues, and I definitely won't be watching this, again.
Yeah, I can't really see myself sitting through this again either.
Yeah, so
and I've rewatched the first one, so take it as you will.
And things like this, I have trouble giving a number rating.
For me, I'd give it like a 6 or 7 if I'm being generous.
Yeah, I'd have to be around like a 6.
Yeah.
Just because, and that's I feel like that's also a disservice because there are definitely moments of this movie that are an 8.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But overall, I feel like it just.
Yeah, it's probably close to the 6 range more.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
The other stuff brings it back down. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's me.
I'm pretty much on the same page you are, except I enjoyed it for what it was more. But I completely agree with everything you're saying. I'm looking at movies that come out this week that I have to go see.
Hustlers.
Hustlers is yeah. So we kind of took a couple weeks off because I just need like a mental health break, and I'm also been in the job hunt recently. So
I mean, we did 4 movies in a week, dude.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's not bad.
So that was a case where like I just need a break for a little while, but now we're back at it. So next week we got the Hustlers, which is apparently really good.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
And then the Goldfinch, which is not so good.
Apparently, which is hilarious because if you told people the concepts of those 2 movies.
Yeah,
they would think the opposite.
Yeah, like the J-Lo movie's the better one?
Yeah,
I know.
No, the J-Lo stripper movie is the good movie as opposed to the obvious Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Based on the award-winning novel.
With all the pretentious music that plays in every single
Oh god, I fucking hated that trailer so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
Get
whatever.
that boy from like fucking Fault in Our Stars to Steel Pain, I guess.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so I think it's all we got. I'm going to eat my delicious Habit burger.
I'm gonna go to the Habit. Alright.
You can get your own today at your local location. I don't know. Bye, guys.
Check out their fried soybeans. Oh god, I looked horrified. Look at this lighting. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Goodbye.